Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Let me first say what a privilege it is for me to give this lecture and to thank the chairman for the flattering half-truths he has expressed about me. And it's also my privilege to have this opportunity to celebrate the achievements of the Club of Rome over its first 40 years and the centenary of its inspirational founder. The club's agenda was ahead of its time. Its focus on key global issues, especially on the constraints of living on our crowded planet, will be even more crucial in the next 40 years than it has been up till now. We live in a world that is ever more complex and ever more interconnected. There are greater opportunities, but there are greater risks as well. This lecture that there's a downside, because for the first time, one species, the threats have come from nature. Diseases, earthquakes, floods, and so forth. But now they come from us. Human activities are ravaging the entire biosphere, perhaps irreversibly. We've entered what some people have called the Anthropocene era. But before thinking on a 40-year timescale, let's not lose sight of something that really can't wait that long. The top priority in the next 10 years should surely be to help to meet the Millennium Development Goals and to help the poorest 2 billion people in the planet, those earning less than $2 a day. So here to remind you are these goals: to eradicate extreme poverty, worse in Africa, and then to provide access to primary education for everyone, to improve the lot of women, to promote gender equality, and of course to promote efforts to reduce child mortality and also to reduce maternal mortality, and to combat the AIDS epidemic and other diseases which ravage the poorest parts of the world. These are imperatives, and they should surely and uncontroversially be our top priority over the next few years. In fact, in his recent book, Jeffrey Sachs points out that 1,000 hyper-rich people in the world, just 1,000 people, could really make a difference to the lives of these poorest 2 billion. And it would indeed be shameful if these goals could not be met on time to remove the handicaps faced by the 2 billion poorest people on Earth. What's lacking is simply the will, not the resources. But when we look further ahead, towards the next 40 years, there are challenges confronting our planet which are far more intractable, where we're not quite sure of the best approach, still less whether it'll work. A few years ago, I wrote a short book. I entitled it Our Final Century, with a question mark after it. My publisher removed the question mark, and in Italian it's called Il Secolo Finale. But the American publishers wanted a scarier title, and it's called, in America, Our Final Hour, because I guess our American friends want instant gratification and instant disgratification too. In this book, I guess that, taking all risks into account, there was only a 50% chance that we get through to 2100 without some disastrous setback. You see, people, for most people in most nations, there's never been a better time to be alive. The innovations that will drive economic advance, information technology, biotech and nanotech, can boost the developing as well as the developed world. Creativity in science and the arts is open to hugely more than in the past. We're becoming embedded in a cyberspace that can link anyone, anywhere, to all the world's information and culture, and to every other person on the planet. Those are wonderful things. 21st century technologies will therefore offer lifetimes that are environmentally benign, involving lower demands on energy or resources than what we consider a good life today. And there's another reason for optimism. We're at less risk of nuclear annihilation than we were when the club of Rome was founded. Soon after World War II, some physicists in Chicago started a journal called the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists, aimed at promoting arms control. The logo on the bulletin's cover is a clock. The closeness of whose hands to midnight indicates the editor's judgment on how precarious the world situation is. Every 2 or 3 years, the minute hand is shifted either forward or backwards. It was closest to midnight in 1962. The Cuban missile standoff in that year outed in his confessional movie